Celebrity Book Club.
Texas's senior senator.
Oh God, is it 10:45 already? You know, I'm gonna call Judy. I need to call Judy. We haven't seen each other in weeks. Is Judy there?
This is she.
Hey, doll. It's June.
Hey, Jude. I can't believe. Sorry, I'm out of my mind today. I'm running around. I had a hair appointment. Of course, I know. Oh.
You and me both. It's one of those days where I feel like 9 cats in a coffin.
I feel like it's Christmas Day, and I'm Jewish. Okay, I just went to my dear hairdresser, Sylvia. She's retiring.
Oh no! Oh, Judy, I have to give you
my kids were over the other day, and
Oh, at least your kids came over.
Matt has turned into the most wonderful cook. He made duck à l'orange,
Oh, Judy.
and I said, "Give me the recipe." So I got my pen. He laughed at me. Said, "Mom, I'm going to send you the link." Let me get. I have to get on my phone.
It's a wonder that I've mastered the device that I'm speaking to you on right now. Wouldn't know what to do with it. My goodness.
Yeah, maybe between third and second.
Yeah, on fourth. I love that place. It's called, what is it called?
And the waiter,
Sarah's.
fabulous.
I think he would really get along with Colin.
I can't drink 2 glasses of wine anymore. My eyes become so puffy. I'm putting on the La Mer.
I don't care what they're selling over there at Zidamere these days. It's La Mer for me. It will bankrupt me, and I told our stockbroker.
No,
I said, Alan,
rule of
I don't know
thirds.
what you have to do.
The man's gonna find someone 30 years younger in 2 weeks, because men can't be alone.
I swear to God, you know,
No, God forbid.
I apologize. I just have this thing right now where my left ear, it feels like it has water in it. Oh my God, I need.
Oh my God, it's 3:45.
Judy, let's get together next week.
Yes.
Send me your schedule.
Yes,
Send me if you can figure out how to do it. Send me your schedule.
I'll move some things around. We gotta make this happen. Love you, doll.
I love you, doll. I miss you.
Okay, kisses.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Okay.
Mwah.
Siri, hang up. Siri.
Who's that knocking at the door? It's all your friends, you filthy whore. Your husband's gone and we've got books and a bottle of wine to kill. It's Hollywood. It's books. It's gossip. I'm shook. It's memoirs. It's martinis. It's Studio 54. It's Celebrity Book Club. Come read it while it's hot. Celebrity Book Club. Tell your secrets, we won't talk. Celebrity Book Club. No boys are allowed. Celebrity Book Club. Say it loud and proud. Celebrity Book Club.
Buzz me in, I brought the Cuervo.
Hey, best friend.
How the hell are you?
How the hell are you? I'm feeling, I don't know, completely psychic. Spirit is fully in my body.
Yeah.
I feel like we should tell our listeners, the club kids, what just happened.
What just happened backstage was that I asked Lily to guess what my dinner plans were for tomorrow night.
And I took about 2 guesses.
You said, wait, what was your first guess?
First guess? Well, I was like, are you going...
going to
in or out?
Rolo's.
Yeah.
You were like, in or out? I said, I'm going out. And then you're like, oh, is there some pop-up at Rolo's? I was like, no, but it is kind of a special menu. And then literally the next thing.
I took a second. I thought a minute and I said, Japanese with Italian influences. Next thing I said. And then the Whisper Room, our studio, it just filled with like ghosts.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely correct.
I started shaking.
And mind you, I haven't even like seen any little Instagram posts about some Japanese chef doing something Italian.
No.
I did.
You surmised from the twinkle in my eye alone.
Yes.
That there must be a cuisine crossover and that there was some sort of excitement around omakase that could only be augmented by Italian
food. And I will
dishes.
say the reason, though, that this even idea is in my mind is because former guest of the pod, Physical Therapy, actually didn't even tell me about this, but told my girlfriend of the pod, Maya, about Patti Smith's favorite restaurant in San Francisco on a bridge that has Japanese pasta. So that was kind of but that was like a week ago. So I was just kind of, I think, that was settling in.
But that's just like, energy, it can neither be created nor destroyed. It's only transferred. So like energy is between us and there obviously is some sort of energy happening between us, a chi, if you will. Anyway, I'm going to a 9-course Japanese Italian tasting menu. It's for my brother's birthday. My mother's graciously paying.
Maya also to me was like, wow, Steven's going away on his like brother's birthday. When your brother posted his like beer flyer.
Yeah.
Not to put you on blast.
Did you go to my brother's birthday?
I did not attend. Sorry, Eric.
You did allegedly have bed bugs, so.
I guess I thought we were not going to bring that up on the pod.
No, this is the red table.
Okay, because it's like, now, like, you're actually talking about my family and, like, my privacy. Anyway, I don't have bed bugs, but there was a scare. What's also so funny is I was like, I literally said to Maya, I was like, I feel like Eric is just doing something small, and I'm sure Steve and Eric are going to go to a really expensive dinner themselves paid by their mom.
And you were right.
Yeah, and
so
I was
once
right.
again, Miss Cleo over here, not only did you know we were going to an expensive dinner, you knew it was going to be Japalian.
And I came to you. I actually came to literally defend your family's honor. And then you come and you talk about my home.
Well, no, here's what I'll say. It's like, if you're ashamed of bed bugs, that's on you. Because I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of.
Well, and that's why I shared it with you and our other dear friend. Because I was like, I'm not going to live in this like
Hell yes.
privacy. I'm going to tell you what's going on in my life. And that, yes, I have 3 mysterious bites on my neck that are now fading.
I don't see anything on your beautiful neck.
Speaking of necks, and other things wrong with my life.
Speaking of necks, we listened to
an iconic,
iconic book,
written by one of the most like influential writers of our time, of the world. Like, it's literally like Shakespeare and her.
One of the sort of goated neurotic white women, I think, like of all history. We're, of course, talking about Nora Ephron.
And her book,
I Feel Bad About My Neck. So this book came out 2006. Nora Ephron, for those of you who don't know because you live under a Bulgaria.
Yeah, she wrote this little movie called When Harry Met Sally.
She wrote a little movie called Sleepless in Seattle.
She wrote my favorite movie, My Blue Heaven, which is a spoof on mob movies.
Oh, of course.
Which I wanted to tell you to watch, but I felt like it wasn't.
She wrote the movie that sort of like invented the modern era, which is You've Got Mail.
Yeah, AOL, check it.
Um,
Battle of the Sexes, okay? No one does it better than her. She wrote another underrated, goated film called Hanging Up. That's Lisa Kudrow and Meg Ryan.
Where they're sisters.
They're 3 sisters,
somehow.
and the whole thing is them on like big cell phones and like portable phones being like, I'm hanging up. I gotta go, because it's like their dad is horny and sick, and they have to like take care of him, played by Walter Matthau.
Ultimately, like half of all movies are about like sisters fighting when their dad is sick.
Yeah. So
she's the neurotic Woody Allen type, but she's the Carrie Bradshaw, and she's like somewhere deliciously in between. But she's like Tina Fey. Like so many people like have come out of her. Like the modern rom-com era has come out of her. But people think of rom-coms as dumb because they're dumb, and the reality is rom-coms are A, smart and brilliant, B, she's such a keen observer of the human condition.
Well, and
she's
such
a clever wordsmith.
How people live.
Yes.
I mean, and what a lot of people don't know, we found out during this book, I mean, she interned for JFK.
John F. Kennedy.
You know, she started out just in, she wanted to be she was a journalist. She was a writer. And you know what's funny is why it's so funny to say the Carrie Bradshaw, because I recently realized she was the Carrie Bradshaw of the 70s and 80s, because I was cleaning for my queer elder, Eileen Miles. And Eileen Miles was telling me that, like, when they first moved to New York, like, they so wanted to be in, like, Nora Ephron's, like, scene. And Nora Ephron was, like, this cool New York magazine writer.
Yeah.
And, and Eileen was like, I feel like I, like, didn't, like, maybe was at some of those parties, but just, like, couldn't. And I was like, what was Nora Ephron's vibe? And she was like, I was like, was she, like, Sex and basically Carrie? And Eileen was like, yeah, like, Nora Ephron was being, like, a little bit guy's girl, like writing for Esquire. She's been married. Her marriages are iconic. First is this guy I don't know. They got divorced after like 6 years. Then she married literally Carl Bernstein. Divorced.
Like Watergate heard of it. Divorced because he started sleeping with the wife of the British ambassador because he's a dog.
And then
she made a movie about it. Heartburn.
Yeah. And then literally the British ambassador called her to like discuss and being like, oh, like our spouses are like sleeping with each other. And she was like, the British ambassador is calling me.
Yeah.
And then third, she married, and this is why my favorite movie, this came out of this marriage, My Blue Heaven, Nicholas Pileggi, who wrote Goodfellas. And so when he was writing Goodfellas, this is so fabulous because people talk about Goodfellas. It's an amazing movie. It's an iconic movie. It's a drama, blah, 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 mafia, blah, blah, blah. She wrote a hilarious movie called My Blue Heaven that's a spoof about Steve Martin being in the mafia and going into the witness protection program where Joan Cusack is like this policewoman that's like always arresting him. And I feel like, and with Rick Moranis in this, like actually like kind of like more smart, hilarious.
Right, than Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Which is just like a little basic. It's a little bit
I mean,
like...
I love Goodfellas. Obviously, my entire like style in life is like based on it. But like My Blue Heaven almost more. It's like you can write a drama, but with a comedy, then you have to add comedy to it.
I say this all the time. Comedy is so much more difficult, I think, in terms of writing and acting than drama, because with drama, there's a much broader range of choices you can make as both a writer and actor that will work. But with comedy, it's quite a bit
You almost have to do the
narrower.
same thing then add comedy.
Yeah, it's quite... I think the range of choices that will actually be funny, I think, is a narrower range that you have to work with. And it's like, if it doesn't work, then it literally isn't comedy. Whereas with drama, you can kind of say anything. And like, if it's a good enough actor and the cinematographer is good enough, you can kind of pull it off.
Woman crying, blah, blah, blah. So this book, though, it's, as you said, written in 2006. You know, it's touches on these marriages and these things, but it's really a little more of just a woman's journey. Like, yes, she's talking about her marriages, but it's framed through talking about neck wrinkles and moisturizer and arugula, and
it's definitely like a beautiful, like a very humorous kind of satirist, like meditation on what it means to be an Asian woman in society. But then she also like gives you a little bit of memoir throughout, and she's always like referencing her experiences and her loves and her divorces and lessons that she's learned. And it's absolutely a cultural window into like what it means to be like a urban New York City neurotic white woman writer
of Jewish experience who has a certain amount of money.
The book, this is what's so funny. This is hilarious.
What's hilarious?
This is hysterical. I never realized until we read this book that I'd heard of it, of course. I'd seen it on my mother's shelf. I thought I Feel Bad About My Neck was about like your neck hurting. And like, because moms are always so neck surgery and like shoulder
your
surgery.
Mom is actually the one who's the most. You're like, moms are always getting neck surgery.
Okay, but lots of moms are being so back surgery and shoulder surgery. And I thought it was very like, oh, this is just mom being like, oh, sweetie, my neck hurts. And it was kind of like the guilt over the fact that your neck is always hurting.
Oh, sweetie, I can't go to theater. My neck hurts.
You like can't go to the play or whatever because your neck hurts.
Right, but actually this is more about like
taking like way too many pills. But it's actually about wrinkles. It is about appearances and vanity.
You had a little bit of like more of kind of this like darker Americana painkiller. No, I mean, so, you know, she starts out reflecting on the wrinkles. And I think this book is really also about, it's very the John Waters phrase, always appreciate how you look now, because 10 years...
Honey, you're not going to look like that ever again.
Okay, you're going to be like, why did I think I was fat? I look so young.
Yeah, and so the big like device of the book is, of course, the neck. The neck being like the part that absolutely, she's like, the face lies, but the neck tells the truth. Like the neck sags and gets wrinkly in a way that is so impossible to hide unless you fully get a full facelift.
Now, one of your great physical impressions that you always did for me was you quoted your mother's friend Beep. I would never dox her.
Her name is Sue. And Sue goes, okay, everyone say what kind of plastic surgery they would want. She was like my mother's most fabulous friend. And then I was like 7 at the time. And she was like, I would want this. And she just pulls back the neck. Basically gives herself like that little lower facelift. And so I've kind of always also wanted that. And that remains
you've
my
always
dream.
wanted that. And I think we're at a great time where we still can't, like I'm trying to do that impression and not much is happening. But there's also something about definitely a Northeastern woman's neck that gets just
The
thin
waspy neck gets so crepey and dry and wrinkly.
thin, and obviously,
or
if
the
it-
Jewish, the
yeah,
Northeastern Jewish
and
woman,
obviously,
yeah.
if there is a little more like tanness to it, kind of that Irish,
Yeah.
it gets a little thinner. So, do you moisturize your neck?
I don't, and I should, and I'm always forgetting. And in 10 years from now, I'm going to look back and say, God damn it, sweetie, why weren't you moisturizing your damn neck?
And I don't moisturize my neck because I think I've actually have a zit on my neck right now. Even though I've started...
Probably because you don't moisturize. Because what happened, you know what's happening?
It creates oil.
Yep.
Well, no, I think it's because I pet my little chinny chins.
You do pet your chinny
And that's like,
chins.
stop. And also, like, I'm so disgusting. I'm washing my hands once a day. I'm touching, I'm baking. I'm touching the New York City subway. I'm cooking falafel. Like, I'm I'm thrifting. And then I'm like, let me pet my neck. Let me pet my cat and then pet my neck.
Yeah, you're in your creepy gingerbread house. Like you've got your cauldron. You're waiting to put the kids in. You're a monster.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I will start moisturizing.
I think though, like, I related to that so much because I always do this in the mirror. She was like, you look in the mirror and you pull your neck back and you look at yourself. And we as women, we do this all the time. We're always just like, how do I look? And that vanity, it's so inescapable. I don't care who you are. I don't care how enlightened you are. You look in the mirror and you're vain. You critique.
I mean, my
and
thing
you say, I wish I looked like this. I can't believe I used to look like this. Why can't I look like this?
I always grab, the love handles, and then my hips, and I push them back.
Oh.
That's my neck.
That's what you do.
Yeah, I push them back, and I say, this is possible.
When you're
These
in the
can
H&M
go.
dressing room.
I haven't been in H&M in years. Okay? I push them back. Okay, so then we kind of get into a little bit of the history of her life. And this really almost like gave me chills because it's like seeing your parents really come to fruition. She talks about after her second divorce when the Julia Child cookbook came out.
Yeah.
And that changed the game. She says, quote, when that happened, also the pill came out. Everyone started having sex and everyone started cooking.
Julia Child and birth control were invented at the same time. Everyone's having sex and then cooking afterwards. And of course, the infamous scene in Heartburn where Meryl Streep cooks the carbonara.
The carbonara.
In bed for Jack Nicholson.
And, it's like at that time, people were not, it's like, I think like women cooking pasta casually was like this whole new like sexy revolution.
Right.
Like, literally Alison Roman like made merch of that scene. Because before, I think it was like spaghetti and meatballs. That's like for Italian food. But for like a New York, California woman to say to a guy, I'm going to make you a pantry pasta, like that.
Shocking. Well, of course, this was the generation. This is very our parents' generation. But like my mom always saying, like, honey, my mother cooked bean,
right, and spam and
bean casseroles out of a can. Like I didn't know what a fresh vegetable was until I was 24.
Right. It's like basically like all the boomers grew up on like canned vegetables and then the gourmet cookbook. And so it was like, yes, they were all like, we're second wave feminists.
The Ruth Reichel crossover in this book, how the gourmet cookbook was so instrumental. Oh, her mentioning her family chef, Evelyn.
Oh, yeah. She's like,
I was like, so y'all grew up rich?
Really rich. No, she's very just like, and Evelyn would cook. And then my mom bought the gourmet cookbook and started to experiment. And, I was thinking about, meals my mother would say, her and my father would, make for the friends. It's like they would spend 3 days making the Peking duck, and it's all very Craig Kilborn. Like they would make like these like small little raviolis stuffed, these, 7-course Chinese meals.
She's the quote. She says, "We began to cook neurotically and competitively. I took a course on how to use a Cuisinart food processor.
I know that. I'm obsessed.
I want to go to a class on how to use a Cuisinart." But she's doing this thing, and it really, it made me think of my parents as well. My parents had a group called Gourmet Club, where them and two other couples, one of them had Sue of Gourmet Club. They would cook these elaborate meals for each other, and it was absolute competition. They also had their wine tasting group, which just, still meats, but which is maybe less elaborate. But again, it's...
The Gourmet Club definitely seemed like more of a competition in the way of just like, really like who can go more all out, make the more like, it wasn't about necessarily like, oh, definitely everything, like, come over, I'm making like, I think now we're in a little bit more of an age of like, I'm making like all the braise.
Right.
And like, obviously, yes, we are trying to impress. And I actually have a note here. I do think we actually are in the competitive stage of cooking in our life. Like, where she says, if I actually may pull out this.
But the aesthetic has shifted.
Yes.
And so like where we're being more, and Alice Roman is the queen of this idea, which is like not trying too hard and have it be family style and have the recipes be more accessible and not like being so like French technique and like so these like complex things with so many multiple dishes to prepare multiple parts to it.
So she becomes best friends with this gay guy named Lee Bailey. And
she becomes absolutely obsessed. And I think he's kind of the proto Alison Roman, I'll say.
Yes, because this is after one of her divorces. I became Lee's love slave, culinarily speaking, long before he began to write the series of cookbooks that made him well known. He had replaced all my previous imaginary friends in the kitchen. Whenever I cooked dinner and anything threatened to go wrong, I could hear him telling me to calm down. It didn't matter. Pour another drink. No one will care, which I feel like is such a Roman. I stopped serving hors d'oeuvres, just like Lee, and as a result, my guests were chewing the wood off the walls before dinner, just like wildly neurotic and competitive way. We were looking for applause. We were constantly performing. We were desperate to be all things to all people. Was this the grand climax, the post-World War II domestic counter-revolution, or the beginning of a pathological strain of feminist overreaching? No one knew. We were too busy slicing and dicing. And then basically he cooks this dinner that's just like a roasted pork, cornbread, beans, and
crab apples.
Rule of four.
The mysterious fourth thing. And the fourth thing is just like what balances out the meal, and like it keeps people coming back for more. It creates this element of bounty. There's
surprise.
Right. And I mean, bounty and surprise are like two of the greatest feelings in the world. And so when you see this all there, and it seems like it's all being served family style, it's not being so like...
Basically, also, he's making this dish that's, instead of being like, I'm going to cook the national dish of Brazil where I need to buy like 30 ingredients I don't have and like this and that to like impress people to be like, what even on earth is this? Like being like, let me do something that's a little bit more manageable and like delicious.
And as you said, I think today, even post her Lee Bailey kind of epiphany, she is still being neurotic and competitive. So are we. When I host a dinner party, I still want people to be impressed. I want them to be agog at, at the decor, at the friendliness, at the generosity, the cuteness of it all.
Well, especially but also talking about the level of cooking where I think sometimes where she says like, I was wrapping things in phyllo, I'm stuffing grape leaves. And I do.
And it's very like, what are you doing?
Right. But I do think your 30s kind of is your time to be like, I need to stuff things in grape leaves.
I mean, I remember my parents, like my mom, like for gourmet meal being like, we're doing like the banana leaf rice. And she's like screaming at my dad, just being like, Doug, I said the wide brim banana leaves. And it's all, I mean, the amount of times I can remember my mom screaming at my dad about a specific type of mushroom.
Oh, I feel like I've been there before, like, Doug, lion's head.
Celebrity Book Club.
One, she says a round dinner table is the secret to a good dinner party. I kind of desperately want to get a round dinner table now.
Because it's
nothing that connotes community and conversation.
I dare you to get a round dinner table.
But then I'm like, I'm getting rid of my table. It's just like, it's such
really
a fucking bitch to get in there and assemble. And
everything. It's also like, I guess because it's a rectangle, like, but it's still small enough that usually it's just 2 and 2. I think you're fine
with my
current table.
With not getting a circular. I've just been kind of dreaming of a circular. And thinking about how it would change my life.
Well, now here you are saying, I'm dreaming of something, it's going to change my life. And then now all I hear is fear about doors.
Right. No, it's just like, why am I letting a door block me?
Maybe instead of painting your living room terracotta or whatever that idea was you had the other week.
I do still want to do what I'm calling the blue room.
Okay, blue room, round table.
Terracotta.
I'm writing this down and we're going to circle back to it in a few weeks. Okay.
Okay, another thing she says is don't serve fish. Fish is too easy to eat. She goes, people eat it and they're done.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of crazy.
I kind of love, though, because it's like, you don't want someone to just be like, oh, 3 bites and it's over. It's
yes,
like,
and she was like...
wait, the thing where she was like, there's nothing worse. It's 10 p.m. All your guests have gone and you're sitting alone with a bunch of dirty dishes.
I was chills.
Devastating.
Just like, yep, they're done. They've left and you're just... polishing the dishes off.
If a dinner party isn't lasting till like 11:30, like someone's opening another bottle of wine and that the conversation continues to flow,
and you're sitting,
then
and then being like, oh, let's
You know, nobody wants this wham bam thank you ma'am dinner party. Everyone's like, ooh, we have to get to bed.
And you're like, oh, great, like weekday salmon.
Yeah. Mortifying.
But I think seafood pasta.
Yeah, seafood pasta gives you... Well, she goes, people like to play with their food. And it's
but I think this, like,
fish.
right, this one small fillet that's, like, so para, and you're just, like, small bite Dover sole.
Yeah, Dover sole. With a miso, like, a very quick like, miso glaze.
Some of her other rules... Oh, wait, this is not a dinner party rule, but this is also, like, the moment your child leaves, change their room.
Oh,
she was like, it is not a shrine. And obviously, like, the poster, I mean, I don't have a room anymore. So I can't move home. Because she says if you leave it as a shrine to them, it will leave them this open door to not go, like, grow up.
They won't grow up. I mean, her whole thing about adolescence is so funny. Just being like, adolescence is like... She's like, actually, like, first you realize that adolescence is like a time for like your kids to separate from you and to find their own personality. And then you realize, no, the reason that they're so obnoxious is because it lets you separate from them. And then you are finally able to cut the cord because you're like, wait, my kid is so obnoxious.
And then she's like, and get a dog because you need something that's happy to see you.
Oh, yeah.
It's so, also just everything is such a Nora Ephron movie where she's like, a harried middle-aged mom carrying a paper bag of groceries and holding with 2 hands with like a baguette, celery pasta, and being like, kids, I'm going to make your favorite. And they're running out the door with backpacks, being like, grabbing like a Snickers, being like, sorry, mom, I'm going to Tracy's. Like, I have basketball practice. And then she just looks at the dog that's like, guess it's just you and me tonight. Oh, and Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Like,
sigh, pours big glass of red wine. In her beautiful 10-bedroom doorman apartment on the Upper West Side.
Let's get to the Althorpe.
The Althorpe.
Oh, the Althorpe.
Wait, when she never thought she could fall in love with a building, but she did. So maybe half this book is about the Althorpe. Yeah. This building she lives in the Upper West Side. She never thought she'd live in the not cool Upper West Side, she says. Well, but then she has this fun part where she's like, I felt like it was brainy because it wasn't trying to be so hip, which made me feel like more of an egghead professor. Well, I think she realized that because I think in her Esquire New York Magazine days, she was like Midtown Upper East, and that's when things were being a little more like cigarettes and like Upper East Side was cooler, but then 80s, 90s actually feel like become so Woody Allen and Upper West Side and rom-com. And she's like, oh, I'm such an intellectual. And she's like, it's this thing when people talk about expensive neighborhoods and they're being so like shocked their stuff. She's like, it's crazy. She goes, it had everything I wanted. It was like, I could get a newspaper at all hours of the day. And all night. And a 24-hour newsstand, which I need to like, that's a new want for me. I need a 24-hour newsstand. I would like to be able to go to get the morning edition and not have to trek across Siberia for it. Excuse me. I mean, yeah, obviously, like, I feel like by both of our neighbors, it's like impossible to get the New York Times. No, I know. It's like you go to the deli that's 4 blocks away and it's very like, is this from today? Yeah, you're going there and they're like, I think we have it. Okay, so she wants an 24-hour newsstand, a Korean grocer, which is so Sex in the City. So Carrie Bradshaw, I'm going to the Korean. Going to the Korean. A Zabar's is a few blocks away. It's like, she's like, it's crazy. The store is Zabar's. It's only a few blocks away. So this building is absolutely massive. It's an old pre-war. It's got this big, huge courtyard in the middle. It's very that show, Murders in the Building, now on Hulu, starring Steve Martin Shore, and Selena Gomez. Haven't seen it. I hear really good things. I feel like I'm always hearing like parents being just like, we've been watching Murders in the Building. I mean, yeah, it's the most parents. And we like it. I liked it. But no one is that effusive about it. No one, I think, is obsessed. So this building is, classic, just like very kind of fancy old school, like the crown molding, like parquet floors, like these huge,
Co-op.
like 5-bedroom apartments. She starts renting this 5-bedroom apartment for $4,000 a month or $3,000 a month, even in 1982. It's completely
Right, and she
insane.
does this whole thing when they wanted like a down payment or like a broker's fee, basically of $24,000,
which she called key money.
Yeah, so they wanted key money.
$24K and key money.
So she said she didn't have $24K, and I was like trying to figure out what year this was, and I was like,
it was like late 70s, early 80s.
right, okay, because it was.
I think she means like liquid.
No,
you know
I
what
knew
mean?
that. I
It's
was like,
very
you don't
that
have
thing
that.
where
Parents are
you're
like,
well, I
oh.
don't have that right now. I'd have to sell some stocks, or
Right.
like,
Oh, I'd have to talk to Todd.
Yeah.
And
You'd have to talk to
Todd, and we're going to figure some things out.
You can't just put it on your card.
No,
That's what
it's
that
not
means.
like on the
But you
debit.
certainly have the money.
Yes.
Okay, okay, so then at some point, she goes this whole thing about the building, Rosie O'Donnell lived there. She describes Rosie O'Donnell as painting her apartment orange and installing shelves for her collection of Happy Meal toys. Psycho lesbian hoarder. The orange is just
so playtime lesbian
clown.
Yes. Lesbian clown. I mean, me. But also she's only being Hamburglar. And that's where I'm not different doll lesbian, because I'm not just like...
No, you're not being... Well, there's something so... The repression around...
And the childhood.
The childhood toy thing.
Rugrats and...
I mean, it's just a little too obvious. It's like, okay, you're just trying to recreate childhood. And you desperately want this innocence that you can never get back.
There is an innocence in McDonald's, but I will say the difference of what makes it a little bit more alternative and why it's being more lesbian is because it's still Hamburglar. So it's adding the sense of danger that's still very candied. You know what I mean? It's still being I'm a little badass.
How many lesbians right now do you think are engaged in Hamburglar play? Where the butch is putting on a little bendito eye mask.
Okay, but she does this insane math of how she can afford this apartment. That's so fabulous. So she's like, well, I'm in love with this place, so I'm gonna live there for the rest of my life. So 24,000 divided by 50 years is actually only 300 more a month, or it's 5 cappuccinos a day, and I don't even drink cappuccinos.
Yeah, it's it's just about dividing something by how much time you're gonna be using it, which I actually do find helpful when I think about my Margiela sweater, which did cost me $800 a few years ago. I wear that sweater so often, and I'm the wear per use on that, that I'm sure it's down to $4, and there's stuff that I paid $100 for that I probably only worn twice. So what's the better deal? You know what I mean?
I had to pay key money for my sunken, and I was so eye roll
for your apartment that you currently live in with a second living room, right?
But I feel it's paid
paid itself back in spades, honey. I mean, just at the very least, all the events you've thrown.
Oh, the dinner parties.
And the dinner party, the cultural and social cachet that you've gained. And then, all the liquor that people are bringing over.
Oh, hello. No, I still have a bottle of mezcal I haven't even opened that someone brought for my holiday party.
So she rents it for $3,000 a month. Then they raise it to $10K. And she's like, I just can't do this anymore. So I can't pay $10K in rent. That's insane. So I'm going to buy. How much do you think a 5-bedroom at the Althorp is going for today?
Today, I think it's going for $12.4 million.
You are absolutely correct. It is in that range. There is a 5-bed, 6.5 bath that's 5,000 square feet going for $11,995 right now.
Okay.
There's also a 2,900 square feet that's only going for $5,300.
Huh.
And then what's your idea about rent?
Oh, so it is
because they're also doing rentals over there.
Didn't she say in the book it was going for $40,000, or people were paying $40,000 to get an apartment in key money?
In key money.
I think now for rent it's going for. Now I think actually it is going for $17K a month.
It's $25K.
Wow.
So psycho. Imagine renting an apartment for $25,000 a month.
Well, that's what
it's
is insane. What she says, if you're renting for $25,000 a month, why aren't you buying?
because I mean, I get it if it's like you're Justin Bieber, and so you're just like, well,
I want this for 6 months.
I want this for 6 months, but then you're not at the Althorp, you're not on 123rd. Okay, I was looking at the list of famous people who've lived there. Jennifer Hudson.
Oh, I saw that.
Conan O'Brien.
Yeah. Wait, someone else really funny.
I wonder. It's like, how long was J Hud in there?
That I feel like absolutely a year and a half. Like that feels like
maybe she was like doing a Broadway show or something.
Yes, and wanted to be just like clear
on the
to
West
theater.
Side, just like easy straight shot down. Yeah.
Well, so just to a tag on the Rosie O'Donnell thing, which is also so lesbian, like Rosie leaves because like there's so many issues in Rosie's apartment. Like
oh yeah,
I feel like she has like her washing machine is hooked up to her bathroom.
Wait,
drain.
that was so disgusting, and I was like,
Yeah.
gross. Queer people actually need to all go to jail. I was like, queer people, so disgusting. I'm sure it's so fucking cluttered. There's couches everywhere, and she's got the washing machine connected to the sink. Ew.
Well, I don't think it was like a tube to the sink, but it was like running on the same pipe.
I thought it was one of those like so Bushwick apartments.
I don't think it was so Bushwick.
Where you have the like countertop dishwasher.
Well, because remember when our friend wanted me to get a washing machine that connected to my bathtub?
Yeah.
And I was like, no,
absolutely
I'm not going to have a huge washing machine that I bought for like $190 off Facebook Marketplace so I can wash like 2 shirts at a time and then still have to hang dry.
Not okay.
Not okay.
Yeah, an absolute mess. She is a mess.
Okay. Bill Clinton. She hates him because of
She
what
fell out
he
of
did
love.
to gay people.
Wait, that was the most insane MSNBC mom thing ever. Because it's just like all MSNBC moms like still love Bill, but she was just like, the don't ask, don't tell was not okay.
I was surprised by it because I feel like most MSNBC moms like that doesn't actually even really bother them that much.
They don't remember it.
Yeah,
They don't
no, they're like,
care.
it was the 90s. I was raising kids. I had a job, husband.
I feel like she probably had some conversation
with
with
Lee Bailey
or
Yeah.
a gay friend at a dinner party in 1993, and it really made an impact on her.
And she was like, wow.
And she was so moved.
Wow. And I guess Bill reached out to her and she was like, nah, hypocrite.
Wow.
Why don't you tell that war to stop?
Yeah.
How about that? No more oil for war. It's like,
hell yes.
Go all the way off.
Oh, wait. Could we quickly discuss some of her beauty
Yes.
regiment? Just some really good quotes where she says, I'm never going back to Africa. The last time I was there in 1972, there were no hairdressers in the bush. Never again.
That part was insane.
And when she goes, I envy all Asian women. Have you ever seen an Asian woman with bad hair? No, you haven't. And she's just being like, oh, my dry Jewess hair.
She could like not be like more insane, like misguided MSNBC mom who's like at a dinner just being like so proud to say that she's anti-Bill Clinton because and then just going up to a random Asian woman going, I love your hair. I love your hair.
Would, in my next life, I want that hair. Yeah. I would kill for it. I mean, that is me whenever I see any man that has like the slightly long hair. I'm just like, I'd kill. And in my next life, I will.
She says to always back up your files after she calls herself a mouse potato, which is someone who spends a lot of time on the computer.
Oh, I did love that. I was like, mouse potato, president accounted for. Yeah. I did. Okay, another one of her good things that she does mention is like the cultural shift in parenting. I thought that was a very accurate kind of diagnosis.
It's the classic, like, we were raised, they said, go out and do whatever, and we were fine. And then the classic helicopter books about parenting came in. She does all of them, and she's like, I don't know, teens
and
it
doesn't make a difference. Like, your teen still hates you. And I remember seeing all those books piled high on my mom's, like, chaise in her bedroom and just being like, bitch, this isn't going to do anything. I'm still going to hate you.
You being like, ha, 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 ha. No, what was the iconic book? Oh, my teen is driving me crazy.
Yeah, right. There was another one that was
Help.
like, back talk, what it is and how to stop it. Okay, wait. So then her JFK story, she's interning for JFK. And, like, this other girl comes forward to reveal she had an affair.
This part is so iconic.
And she's just like, well, he never took an interest in me. I saw him once. He was leaving the White House to get on Air Force One or like the helicopter. And like the helicopter was so loud. And she goes, and I think he said something like, how is it going? And then I just said, what? And then he just walked away.
And it's so iconic rom-com, like she's being Cilla Bridge Jones, but she also is like, well, maybe JFK didn't hook up with me because I'm Jewish. Just saying.
Yeah. Just look at the list of everyone else he hooked up with. Just saying.
Yeah, just saying. We didn't hook up. Just funny because, that the most famous hookup, Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky.
Very Jewish.
Monica Lewinsky? Yes. I was to say of shifting things,
No, I know. Nowadays, the sultry Jewess is absolutely getting that presidential dick. The end of this book absolutely made me cry.
Oh my god, I moved my car this morning sobbing.
It's so touching. She talks about death, and she just has this really poignant way. She kind of gets into it by discussing like all the other writing about death out there, and how so much like magazine writing, which she's world she's been a part of for so long, is always saying like, isn't it great to age? And like, now you really know who you are, and great, 65 is the new 75, all these kind of like
little
classic
aphorisms and like aging women, like and she was like, can we write a real thing? So this part is so sad, but it is just like thing about aging, and you start hearing about everyone's problems, and basically her best friend
gets like oral cancer,
and
she had a lump on her tongue, and then a year later she was gone,
and like she didn't want everyone to know and do a whole thing, and then 6 years later Nora Ephron dies.
Well, what's insane,
and she didn't really tell anyone.
She was diagnosed the year this book came out, so I think that like as she was writing this, she was maybe like she had maybe just found out. And so I was kind of thinking about this as I read this, like, I think she like, that's partly what's imbuing this with like so much weight, is because, not only are her friends dying, her best friend just died, but she's like thinking about her own mortality in this way. And she's like, even more so because like she just got this diagnosis. And because she says she admires her friend Henry, who had like macular degeneration or something, but like didn't let on. He had like a really bad cataract, but like didn't tell people.
Yeah, it's very...
She's admiring that stoicism and just like
I know.
Going on with your life and just living it.
Which
no
I think
what.
has its like pros and cons to be like, I'm going to like live my life and not tell anyone. It's actually very the plot of that film, The Farewell.
Oh, with Awkwafina?
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen. I mean,
it's basically about like if you get like cancer, you don't like tell. Because you don't want people to just like constantly be like pitying you and be sad for you and like to live life.
Because she talks about like how you're supposed to have this conversation with friends about what they would want like in the event of their death and like living will and all this stuff. She goes, but before you get sick, you have absolutely no idea of how you're going to feel once you do. You can imagine you'll be brave, but it's just as possible you'll be terrified. You can hope that you'll find a way to accept death, but you could just as easily end up raging against it. You have no idea how your particular prognosis is going to be or how you'll react to it or what options you'll have. You'll have no clue whether you'll even know the truth about your prognosis, because the real question is, what is the truth and who is going to tell us, and are we even going to want to hear it? Like, that to me is really, I think she's grappling with that herself at that point.
No, it made me like so scared of like death and everything, because it's like, yes, there are obviously things you can prevent, but just like being a teenager, it's like, I don't know, we could all get like the most random diagnosis of just like lip cancer or whatever at like 68, it's like, life's a crapshoot.
Life is an absolute crapshoot, and so you have to enjoy it while you can, and
make a will. Our high school emails my sister every single week about writing a will and how they have a will workshop program.
It's really insane.
I know, and they're like, "Do you want to write a living will?"
I mean, I've already made my death plan, as you know. We talked about that on a previous VIP lounge. The part where Judy says when they're talking, and Judy's like, "I don't want to die," Judy said. "I believe in miracles," she said. "I love you," she said. "Can you believe this?" she said. "No, I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. But let's not be morbid. Let's put little smiley faces on our faces. LOL, eat, drink, and be merry. Seize the day. Life goes on. It could be worse. The ever popular, consider the alternative. And meanwhile, here we are. What is to be done? I don't know. I hope that's clear."
So take this, Nora Ephron. Go hunt down the Hungarian casserole you want. Make a meal that's too complicated. Yeah. Regret it. Then make another one.
Then make it simpler. Then find your own way to make a meal, and you'll realize maybe it's a combination of the two. Maybe it's some other third thing that you don't know yet.
Go to Vegas with your girlfriends.
She's like, I don't know if you're supposed to live every day because you're last, or you're supposed to save. And it's like, do both. Do it all.
Have 5 cappuccinos. Buy an apartment.
Invest, but also spend all your money.
Yes, absolutely invest. And contact us for stockbroker recommendations.
But it is, I don't know, yeah. It is, there's no answer. You know, she talks about the front and Henry as being one of the good ones. It's like he dies at 82. And so we have this thing where we're like, well, if you die in your 80s...
You're old. Like, but it's like Nora Ephron...
But if you die at like, she's like
71
or 71, it's like, it's like that's what you don't want. And I feel like I have this fear. I have this big fear of dying at 58. But I feel like anything in that 55 to 75 range like feels like a failure.
That's like when people are like, he was so... I mean, that's, I feel like, what people would always say, which is so like actually kind of like weird to hear about my dad. They'd just be like, oh, he was so young.
And you're like, well, he was not.
And you're like, he's not that young. But like, then you're like, oh, well, now I'm thinking like it is too young. You're kind of, No, I think the 50, and especially...
And if it starts to happen, and if you get the, and you know, if you get the prognosis, because everyone gets cancer now, like, what are you going to do? You know, and then you'll start to feel like this sadness and this regret. And she's like, oh, Judy died in the worst way. I mean,
yeah, that was like, she died in the worst way. It was so sad.
I don't know. I keep saying that if I ever get cancer, I just want to move to Sardinia and drink wine and not.
And kind of live it out and not.
And live it out. And maybe it'll be one of those stories where it's like, and he lived for 40 more years or something, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it always depends on also like what you get.
And you'll never know. I mean, you know, my dad had myeloma, which is a blood cancer like Nora got.
Oh, she got also the same thing.
It wasn't the exact same thing that he had, but it was I believe it was a blood cancer like leukemia, or like something like that.
And I feel like they
than, like,
were
so
cancer. Like it's done, and then he got.
And now, you know, over 10 years in remission, he's still
building a deck.
He's building a deck. So you never know.
You never know.
And you have to
Life
be
is
grateful
crazy.
and be so thankful and wake up every day.
Every day choosing life.
And screaming aphorisms about gratitude out your window.
Out your gorgeous window outside the Anthrop outlet of your apartment. That's $10,000 a month.
Celebrity Book Club.
You've got segments.
How does she live?
What does she eat?
What does she wear? What does she wear? She's so like...
Scarves.
No, she's also like, sorry, black just works.
Yeah.
I put on a pair of black slacks and a black turtleneck, and I just look amazing.
I wear black even when I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh my God, no, best thing is she's like, my girlfriend, we went on this whole trip for her to get a purse. And you wouldn't believe it, the purse cost $2,500 plus airfare. Well, the purse I use, she literally describes the Susan, I feel like it is a Susan Alexandra purse. She gets like a MetroCard purse.
Oh, but she gets it at the Transit Museum.
Yes. And she goes, and people always stop it and they say, where'd you get that? And I say, the Transportation Museum. And my $25 went to preserving transportation history.
To helping, but she's like, and to helping improve the greatest subway system in the world and making it even better. Thank you very much.
Here's the thing. If it was never in style, it can't go out of style.
Yeah, I mean, she's a fabulous upper Manhattan woman. I think she has like a little pair of like Nike Shox that she like wears to go to the Korean, but like is usually in more of like
it's just like a blue sweater and a black sweater and like.
But I feel like she's saying that she hates evening bags, so she's like not being so heels, and I think she's being more flats.
Yeah, I mean, does she have a pair of has some kitten heels that she's like worn to the Oscars? But I think it's like she is a mouse potato. Like it is a little more like chic comfort.
Yeah. And she has like obviously so many slippers, and like she's getting a lot of slippers.
And like maybe
for
some
holidays.
Loro Piana sweaters, like stunning cashmere sweaters.
But she's also random, and she's still like very Manhattan in the way where she is going to Bloomingdale's and she's going to Zitomer, and like
so that's what I'm saying. Like being like Loro Piana, like is getting like a cashmere sweater, going to Bloomingdale's, picking up a few things, picking up some prescriptions,
errands. Is there any greater joy than doing errands when you live in Manhattan? Oh, I want to live in Manhattan.
No, I know errands not in Manhattan are so
Yeah, they're
dreary.
tedious. They're dreadful. They're absolutely dreadful. What does she eat?
I mean, she's being so like, I never diet, but obviously she's so insane in portions and like has this whole thing about being like, I entered college at 106 pounds. When I came out, I was 126 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, I'm back to 110 and I'm writing this. It's like,
oh, and then she's just like, and I can't wait to tell that like fat girl who called me fat like in college that like I'm thinner than her now. I mean, I think she's very every like just normal person just being like, ooh, I'm like now I feel fat, so I'm gonna eat less, but I'm still doing like roast chicken at home and
it's very
doing
roast
new
chicken.
recipes in the New York Times. Obviously, she's got the Times on an iPad in every room,
every single room, and like she's like, you know, calling restaurants, you know, the famous China Pearl restaurant for their their lemon chicken.
I looked
at the recipe.
I looked up the restaurant. It closed in 2022.
Oh,
we lost so many restaurants.
2022, but I think we should compete,
Oh.
or maybe we could do it together to make the lemon chicken. Does look pretty complicated.
Okay.
You have to like fry it in like water chestnut flour.
Oh, my
and I'm like,
goodness.
okay, now we're shopping for water chestnut flour.
They don't have that at
The one where they
Associated.
shop for water chestnut flour.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I love the idea of us making this competitive lemon chicken. How does she live? I think there's definitely a Buddha in there.
Absolutely. A few.
Yeah, and there's like a fun pewter elephant from her trip to India. There's a fun
there was
wooden like cheetah from the one time she went to Africa. She's not going back. They
She's
don't have a
not going
hairdresser.
back. Wait. This
Books,
is like
books and papers.
back in the day, but this is when she's talking about changing her style. I immediately got divorced and gave my husband all the furniture and began to make a study of Lee Bailey. I bought the chairs he told me to buy, the round dining room table that seemed to be part of The Secret. She like gets white plates. There's a period where she like gets a little more preppy and like gets beige furniture and like throws out.
Yeah.
I owned a collection of brightly painted wooden Mexican animals. I had red plates and a shag rug. And then she like throws them out. So I think she does do like fun renos where she is like going to Zaren's and getting
This is
different.
why I do want to throw out my furniture and
Yeah.
get new stuff. I also, this book made me want to get divorced.
Oh, I know. The way she mentions it so casually is so fabulous that you don't even know which divorce she's talking about.
I know. It's like, if I'm not on my third marriage by the time I'm 60.
This is the problem with our generation.
Right.
If this was back in the day, we both would
Literally
be
already
divorced.
be divorced at least once, if not
But
twice.
we're just saying our ex instead.
I
How
know.
boring is that? Not to be like, well, after my first marriage absolutely fell apart,
Yeah.
I went to France and I threw out that rug.
And now it's just being like, well, I got rid of his old MacBook.
He was a total mashed potato.
It was a mouse potato.
Okay, who are you in the book?
I mean, I'm not Lee Bailey because I don't have the round table.
No, I think you're much more Nora Ephron post first divorce making a Brazilian
Yeah.
national dish.
And I'm like trying to find my Lee Bailey self, but you know, I'm
And you're buying seersucker napkins.
yeah.
And you're posting the seersucker napkins.
Yeah. I think I'm on my journey, but I definitely like relate to all of her like, you know, New York media neuroses and being like, wait, I want to like be like this person, but I also want to do this thing.
Right, but
and I want to make this meal. I mean, it was just being like, I was just like scheduling my dinner party. I'm like, it has to happen. We got to get the next
you're
one on the
less like, I think I'm making the Brazilian national dish and you're more buying the napkins and like calling Mr. Lee for his lemon chicken recipe. Like calling the famous restaurant.
Oh, interesting.
Or I think I'm being a little more.
I'm calling the lesbian bartender at Rolo's, being like, how did you make that like amaretto sour?
Yes, and I feel like I'm a little more just like, oh, I bought like a massive piece of meat and I need to like impress people by this like Brazilian dish.
Right. So I guess we're different Noras.
Different Noras.
I give this book absolutely 5 out of 5.
I give it 5 out of 5. It's it's Bible.
I'm sure it really is Bible. I'm sure it's on your mom's shelf. Go grab it.
Go home.
Read it in a few hours. It's
Cozy up.
It's a really beautiful. I literally I was so inspired. Also as a writer.
No, I was actually also inspired by Rare because she's being so writer.
She's really, really like she injects the personal in a way that is so. I mean, it is like a personal essay, but it's like it just feels so natural and like unpretentious.
She makes writing look easy.
I literally, after we finished this last night, I went back and I like completely rewrote this piece that I've been working on. And I was like, I put a lot more of myself into it, but it was actually, I felt like it didn't feel forced at all, and it felt like natural, and the piece got like so much funnier, and I was so much happier with it. And it was like completely inspired by Nora, just being like, you can just like say this, and it doesn't have to be so like, and then the academic parts will sound even smarter because you're just being like, yeah, this is the idea. Like, let's just be funny and come.
Be real.
She has like a really, really straightforward way of writing that.
Well, and I think that's the rom-com in her because of the way like rom-coms are formatted. It's not all this, let me prove myself.
But
it gets to the point.
But your observations can still be wildly profound.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The way people
language.
are like, oh, a rom-com isn't profound, when actually it's already in there. It's like more subtle sometimes.
I mean, When Harry Met Sally is such a brilliant meditation on desire, and I think it gets to so much like so many people's like real anxieties and neuroses about how they're perceived and how they want to be perceived. It's just like, and it's not like...
It's funny because in my class right now that I'm taking, literally all we talk about is When Harry Met Sally.
Wow. I mean, that movie is like structured up the hood.
Yeah, it's a structured boots. So, well, that's wonderful to hear about your piece. Maybe you can tell me about it at a dinner party.
I'll invite you over.
Yeah, we'll see if I get invited this time.
We'll see.
Yeah.
This is really tight. I have to invite Hannah Goldfield, so you might not make the cut.
Well, actually, maybe me and Hannah Goldfield are be getting like ramen somewhere like in a neighborhood you've never even heard of. Okay, over and out, best.
We're both frantically texting Hannah Goldfield. Hey, Hannah.
Hey, Hannah.
Weird question. What are you doing this week?
Yeah. Wait, so crazy. My week is super free.
My Thursday just opened up.
Celebrity Book Club is presented by Prologue Projects, who was my accountant for years. The show is produced by my first husband, Benjamin Frisch, with editorial support from his wonderful brother, Leon Nafok, Andrew Parsons, who actually wrote the most hilarious novel in 1972, Arlena Revelo, and Madeline Kaplan, who has a lemon chicken a la almond recipe that I have been serving for years. Our production manager is Persia Verlin. We were very close until the rule of ones happened. I slept with her first husband. I didn't think it would break us, but it did. Original theme song by Stephen Phillips Horse. He's playing at the Carlisle this week. Artwork by Teddy Blanks. I just sold my Teddy Blanks while I was redecorating, but he's an amazing artist. Anyway, he's at Chips NY. Follow us on the Bird app, Twitter, and Instagram. My niece is teaching it to me at CBC The Pod. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review, and don't forget to tell your friends, lovers, peers about us, and don't forget to go to patreon.com for access to the VIP Lounge, our exclusive bonus podcast. How fun is that?